I never thought I'd be in a Danish country house talking about English fox hunting. Fox hunting became so important in England in the late 18th and early 19th century. And why it matters that we understand that process, because it's currently not very well represented in the academic literature, in the popular literature, or even on the mapping and the planning processes that we have in place in England. In England, all hunting is fox hunting. If you say hunting, it's fox hunting. If you say shooting, it's driven birds over guns, and if it's deer, it's stalking. My interests as an archaeologist are in landscape and historic landscape, which is how, oddly, I came to look at fox hunting, and that's part of the story. So, in the late 19th century, fox hunting was the most popular sport in England. And so much so that in 1868, the novelist Anthony Trollope suggested that it should be the first national sport of Britain. It's a moment where personal tensions and relationships are played out. It's a moment of danger, it can be romantic. There's all sorts of ways that they can use the hunt to articulate, to talk of those relationships. But primarily, if you see this, you're supposed to think rich and privileged. It has become fully integrated into the English psyche. It's so deeply embedded that it's hard, if you start looking, to escape the influence of hunting. It's in the language, it's in, as we'll see, pubs, everywhere. I've put that one in because the seasonality, the season in which we hunt, from the 1st of November to the beginning of March, is a season within the year when nothing much happens. It used to be a dead time socially, and hunting is credited with creating a whole new social network where people could meet, discuss politics, discuss wealth, discuss marriage. And so it's absolutely central to our concept of winter, and it appears on Christmas cards, for example, all those sorts of things. We also exported it wherever British people went, across all of the colonial countries as well, in America, wherever aristocratic English people went in the 19th century. So it's this unique combination of the costumes, the animals, the landscape, so the visual culture that's associated with it. Here are two of a set of 4 oil paintings done by John Nost Sartorius for the Earl of Darlington to celebrate and commemorate his hunting. You see them charging across a wooded open landscape, hounds, horse, men. It's about, hunting is about relationships between animals and landscape. It's about watching the dogs and the fox. It's about watching their relationship to the landscape. Again, all over the place. These are freely available through the 19th century and very popular, but also into the 20th century. This is a 1920s, 1930s print. So it's hard to ignore hunting even today. So today, the Fox and Hounds is a very common name for a British pub, English pub. It's on ceramics, on plates, on cups. It's used in advertising. This is for mustard, Coleman's mustard. There's nothing else on it, just says Coleman's mustard and a picture of a hunt, and that makes you think, I'll go buy some Coleman's mustard. And for those of you who follow football, last year's Premier League winners, the unexpected champions, Leicester City, the Foxes, have the fox on their badge because they are in the heart of hunting country, but it's not part of really the history of what is given to you today, but that's why the fox is there. Early hunting, medieval hunting, was the deer, primarily the deer. It was done within parks. This is Windsor Castle, where the Queen lives, and before she lived. And this is 1607. This is the medieval deer park. You can see the deer are farmed. They live within this enclosure with a big high bank and fence, and then they're coursed or hunted in this small strip here. It's completely controlled. There's nothing outside in the wild about it. It's a completely controlled experience. So why was there the change to the fox? And the general argument, the usual argument, is that there weren't any deer left, which is a nonsense, really. There weren't any deer left, but far more important was habitat. You can't manage that much landscape just for hunting when there's so much pressure on landscape. It's about changing to something which can live and you can hunt in a working landscape. It's creating a layer within the landscape rather than having to carve out parts of the landscape exclusively for hunting. So if this was so important, if this really was the national sport of the 1860s, why have we forgotten it, and why does it matter? Why should I bother studying this? Why don't we just let it drop off the map? It's about the relationship between animals and landscapes, and if we're about making sustainable landscapes with a great deal of biodiversity, it means we have to pay attention to how those landscapes have come into being today, how they're handed down to us. And if we miss out something as huge as fox hunting from the last 200 years, we're not even starting in the right place. We may not agree with fox hunting, but you will not understand the landscape of Britain, of England, if you do not take fox hunting into account. And if we want to create a landscape where there are these what we now call green corridors, which allow species to move and flourish within the modern landscape, then actually, whatever you think of it, fox hunting provides a really good model for how to manage landscape. And if you're going to ban hunting, you need to put something, or you could choose to put something into place to sustain the character of this landscape as it was. There's a lot of talk in the European Landscape Convention about supporting traditional ways of life, and in one of my deliberately slightly cheeky articles I said, that's fine, let's take the criteria of the historic landscape character of the European Landscape Convention and see how hunts stack up against it, and they're perfect. It's a historic way of life by people who live in the countryside, doing something that's sustainable and creating landscape character. But politically, it's dead in the water. Nobody would touch it. When I did this study in 2004, at the time of the ban, everybody said, well, just come back when they've done the vote. You know, we'll do a study when they've done the vote. Of course, once they banned it, no, that's gone now. There's no interest in it. But it is still part of the landscape that we have inherited, and it still has a role, a tool of making us think about how landscapes and animals and people should work together. And you can take that model and use it in various other ways. I'm going to stop there. That's the very relaxed members of the caravan hunt in Norwich in the late 18th century. Thank you very much for listening.